everyone. Hope you're doing well. My name is Anne and welcome to the Stationery Junkie. And for my very first video here on YouTube, I'm going to review and reflect on my 2023 planning journey using these 4 books that I've used throughout the year. And the 4 books that I have used in 2023 are, this is the Hobonichi Techo original in A6. This started out as my work and journal, kind of planner / journal thingy. This is the Hobonichi Weeks with the Tomitaro Makino design cover. This served as my reading journal in the second half of the year. This is a B6 Night Owl journal for July to December of last year. And this is a 5-year journal that I got as a gift from my husband's uncle. So let's get started and let me walk you through all of these 4 books, starting with the Hobonichi Techo A6. So I initially intended this book, as I mentioned, as a work planner. This is actually my first year, or in 2023 was the first year that I decided to seriously take up planning and organize my work life. So I thought to seriously delve into the world of planning, and Hobonichi was the first brand that I thought about. But while deciding what size that I wanted, I first thought about the cost, because this is not a cheap planner. So I thought to use for the first year an A6, because this was more up my budget around that time. So this served as my work planner and also a journaling notebook. It started off that way in the beginning of the year. I started using it as, first, I started taking note of some important events in the monthly section, wherein I took note of some birthdays, family birthdays. Most of them, these are actually not work-related entries, but in the dailies, I did note some of my tasks at work and also did some side journaling here at the right-hand side, so that I used the timeline. I have used the timeline on and off, to be honest, to take note of some meetings and to write down some work tasks. But it has evolved ever since from a task or to-do list to a full-fledged journal. And I did the full-fledged journaling sometime in August onwards. Up until the beginning of the year, rather, I was listing down my tasks and crossing them off, because I'm the kind of person who derives satisfaction and productivity by crossing off the tasks that I list down. After August, or after July rather, I started doing away with the tasks, because I felt that this planner was too small to actually do some serious planning, like an actual work planner, wherein not only do I list my tasks, but I also can see an overview of a project that I'm working on. I really found it difficult to do that. So because of the small space, I was also journaling. Journaling is quite important to me. So I decided to just convert this to an actual full-fledged journal. And that's what I did. And I'm happy to say that I was quite successful in using up this book, because all of the dailies have been filled up. And I also enjoy decorating the pages with my stickers, washi tapes, and sometimes a bit of ephemera and photos in my trips. And this is what this book is all about. And one thing that also worked well for me with this book, despite its small size, is the habit tracking that I did at the first part of the Calendex here. So the first three columns, I would say, I used as habit trackers. Since it's my first year in Hobonichi, I did not know how to actually use some of the sections here and turn to YouTube for some advice and inspiration. So what I did was to just track three habits. And it just so happened that tracking a few habits really worked well for me because I was quite consistent in making sure that I tracked them, and I was also successful because it these three habits were always at the top of my mind every day. So it's kind of strange because it's also my first time doing serious habit tracking. So yeah, these are the three habits that I track: 10K steps every day, no eating after 7 p.m., and at least 7 hours of sleep. And I would say the most successful I've been was this particular habit of not eating after 7 p.m. because I wanted to lose some weight. And I just looking at it from an overview perspective, I did a lot of that, except for the month of May when I was on a trip for the entire month. So I did get a lot of good sleep during this month. Oh, sorry. And during this year wherein I tracked everything. And I would say I was successful in all three of them because I have data now to use when I did my planning for 2024 in terms of what books I will be getting and what kind of habits I want to track. So this journal really was my companion in terms of keeping track of my habits and some good memories of the year. And I would say at the latter part of 2023, I started wishing for 2024 to come sooner because I wanted to start a new book, and that around that time it was getting really difficult to write at the end part of it. I would always put like a book underneath to elevate this portion because you can see it's if it just lays like this, it's going to be difficult to write at this portion, and because it has fluffed up really well. I like the fluffiness of it if you hold it like this, but it's not a good experience when you write. So I would say I learned a lot of lessons about using thin paper, stickers, and bulking up your pages. And that's the lesson that I will take with me to next year. Next up is my Night Owl Journal work planner. I got this in July. So this is actually a half-year B6 planner from July to December of 2023. As I mentioned, I got it in late July thanks to the reviews by Siobhan from Just Scribble and Mark Fig from Mark Your Pages. So I learned about this because at that time I had already pre-ordered the Sterling Ink Common Planners, and it wasn't going to deliver until October and November of last year. So I thought to get this first and try my hand at the system that this planner has. It's quite similar to the layout of Sterling Ink's Common Planner. And if you're not yet familiar with the layout of Night Owl journals, you can head over to Just Scribble and Mark Your Pages for a detailed review of this planner. So actually, as I mentioned, this served as my work planner, and I'm not going to leaf through most of the pages since they are a bit confidential, but I will kind of like very quickly go through some of the spreads that I did that are safe to share, I would say. One of the things that I was quite successful in this planner was the fact that I found my design style in terms of decorating my planners. Before, I did a lot of junk journaling, and when I started doing planners this year, as you saw in my Hobonichi A6, I was really quite very gung-ho on peppering the pages with stickers and washies. But as the year progressed, I found my stride in terms of designing and what I would say worked really well for me in terms of design. So my design aesthetic kind of evolved with me as well. And in terms of using planners, that has also changed. And that all happened in a span of 1 year. And I'm glad because there's a lot of things I learned along the way. So one of the things that I'm really happy or proud of in this particular planner is doing time blocking like this. Before, I was doing the vertical weeklies like this, just taking note of some of the tasks and meetings that I had, to this one, which actually took note of all of the stuff that I did. I wasn't particular with activities or the color coding on each task. I just wanted to see what I was doing throughout that particular color block. So that was what I did. And I also did some graph habit tracking around this part. And I really like looking at this spread because it looks very well lived. And I also love doing my rolling weekly here. This is a bullet journal method that I learned when I was trying to find more productive ways of using the planner. And I did some journaling here as well. And let me just take you to a spread that I really like. And this is something to do with the intention that I approached the 2024 planner system that I had. So this particular spread is, I would say, my most favorite. When I did a very serious talk with myself how I'm going to approach 2024 with the kinds of journals and planners that I will take with me. So I really did take note of all of the stuff that I wanted to track in terms of habit tracking, and in terms of like what kind of stuff or information do I want to put in the monthlies, the weeklies, the dailies, and the yearlies. So this kind of rundown helped me a lot in deciding what kinds of journals and planners that I want to use in 2024. What were my non-negotiables? What are the stuff and functionalities that I like in a planner? And I found that being that intentional and having that conversation with myself helped me battle with consumerism in the planning community. And this kind of conversation with myself helped me go in the right direction of what I need to do and what to use in next year. So yeah, I didn't get to finish, I would say, all of the sections or all of the note pages here in this book, but I did enjoy the experience of writing here. The paper used is Tomoe River paper, and it was just a very good writing experience. Even to the touch, it still feels buttery up until now. And all of my pens I was able to use really well, and all of my collections in terms of pet tapes, washi, stickers, rub-on stickers, and what have you have been used really well. And I really thank Marissa. I would really like to thank Marissa rather, because she created such a very purposeful product. There is a lot of passion and dedication with regards to creating this book. Okay, I wanted to talk about my 5-year diary. This was given to me by my husband's uncle in the beginning of 2020. So this was actually in Italian. This is actually in Italian, at least the cover, but the rest of well, this is just a blank 5-year diary, so only the months are in Italian. The rest is not really that much of a big deal. I used this, as I mentioned, in 2020, and 2024 is the last year that I can get to use this book, and I'm really excited at the prospect of being able to finish a 5-year diary. I did not really think that I would be able to finish one. Well, I haven't yet, but this year will be the last. So I'm really excited how this is going to turn out. And I would like to say that I've been really successful being in this book every day. And the reason why I was successful in that aspect is that, first, the spaces are quite small. It's not that difficult to write a short entry every day. Second is that I have developed a habit of actually using this on a daily basis, and the fact that I always see it in a very accessible place in the house. So before I sleep, I actually make sure that I have written an entry here. So I wasn't really very particular with my handwriting. This is like really sloppy. I'm not consistent with the inks that I use. I'm not consistent with the pens that I use. I use ballpoints, fountain pens, gel pens here. So I just wanted to make sure I have an entry every day. I think that's the most important part. Lastly, I would like to talk about my reading journal. This is a 2023 Spring Start Tomitaro Makino cover. And I would like to preface that I did not intend to start a reading journal in 2023. I just happened to stumble upon a YouTuber who used the weeks as a reading journal, and I found her system to be quite doable. And I would link her video in the description if you're interested to adapt her system as I did. So, giving you a quick walkthrough about this reading journal, I didn't use this journal until July, so I didn't even bother working on or like filling up the Calendex because this started in April, and I had no use for this section. So when it came to July, I started using this, and this is part of the system where in the monthly section you can have a good overview of your reading journey. So in the month of July, I read about 2 books. So what I do whenever I start a new book at the tail end of the month, I count it as a book read in the following month. That is, if I finish reading it there. So I like this, looking at the monthly section, because it gives me a good overview of how many pages that I've read. And when I try to summarize the month, I get to know how many books I've read and the pages I've read as well. So quite a good experience doing this particular table in the monthly section. When it comes to the weeklies, this is kind of working for me like a journal reflection of sorts, because let me walk you through this. So in the left-hand side, I would divide the page in half. The left-hand side would contain some of the statistics that I have done in terms of reading. So this is like SFT, start, finished, and total number of pages. This is from said YouTuber's method. And on the right side of that page, I would write some thoughts and insights, basically micro journaling about what I've read during that day. And on the right hand side of the book, I would either write like an overall insight of the book that I'm reading, just some thoughts about it. And if I haven't finished reading the book the following week, I would write some quotes. And it was only until recently that I realized that I'm actually doing commonplacing whenever I do this section about the quotes. So that was a good discovery on my part, or a good realization that I'm actually commonplacing. So this is the reading journal system that I have. It's quite simple and quite inspiring and motivational, as I mentioned, because the fact that I'm in a dated book and the fact that I need to write something on a daily basis motivates me to pick up my book and read on a daily basis. And every end of the week, on the weekends, I would be in my journals and planners, and I would fill up this right-hand page with some quotes, with some insights about the book that I'm reading, and decorate the page. So it's also quite therapeutic for me and introspective, like thinking about all of the stuff that I read at the end of the week, and being in my book and putting and committing them all to paper. When it comes to the notes, I didn't really use up the space all that much, except for this spread wherein I listed down the books that I wanted to read and the books that I've read for that year. even if I have not filled up the entirety of the notes pages, it's so blank, it still looks new here. I would say I'm still successful because, as I mentioned, the intention of this book is to read as many books as I can, starting from July until the end of the year. And I would like to say that I've been quite successful. I'm really proud of myself because prior to getting a reading journal, I would be so lazy. I would be so unmotivated to read books. But having a book for this hobby made me motivated to keep track of what I'm reading. And these are the number of books that I've read this year, at least the ones that I've committed. I have not counted the ones that I've read in the first half of 2023, but this one is very promising. And this is the reason why I am keeping another Hobonichi weeks as a reading journal for 2024. And there you have it, folks. These are the 4 books that I have used in 2023. The planners and journals that have been with me throughout the entire year, that have been a chronicles of my life in the previous year. And I just wanted to summarize that I did not intend for things to go into a 4-book system. Initially, in 2023, I started with these 2 for work and personal and for daily journaling. And then throughout the course of the year, I wanted to expand in a sense that I wanted to be more productive in work, which led me to the Night Owl B6 planner, and to also be more purposeful in my hobby, which is reading, in this Hobonichi weeks. And I found that this change was actually beneficial for me in terms of what I wanted to accomplish in 2023, work and hobby wise. And I guess some of the challenges that I encountered was, first, the issue with the sizing of the A6 that led me to upscaling to a B6 and compartmentalizing the personal stuff with work. And the challenge of being more motivated when it comes to reading, because one of the things that are important to me is reading. It has always been a thing that I do for many years since I was a teenager, and I wanted to keep up with this hobby because it's an integral part of my personality. And I didn't realize that it was actually becoming a system of sorts. Initially, I went into planning as just a way for me to keep track of a lot of things in my work. And then it morphed into a hobby. If there's something that you would like me to talk further or discuss in a separate video, please let me know in the comments. And I appreciate very much for your time in choosing to watch this video out of all of the YouTube videos that are available out there. Thank you for your time in giving a watch into this fledgling YouTuber who is just wanting to share her own experience and talk about her hobby, newfound obsession about planners and journaling. And as I mentioned, thank you again for your time. And if you like this content and if you want to see more from me, please consider subscribing or liking the video, and I'll see you next time.